Hello everyone. This is the video lecture for the topic control structures from the first unit of object oriented programming using Java. Control statements or control structures are used to control the flow of execution in a Java programming based upon certain conditions or data values. There are three major categories of control statements are there: branching statements, looping statements and jumping statements. Branching statements include if else and switch. Looping statements include while, do while and for. Jumping statements include break, continue and return. Actually, these decision making statements are otherwise called as selection statements. If statement belongs to the selection statements, which checks the condition only once for the program execution. If the condition is true, it will execute the block, especially the if statement, which will execute a block of code only if the specified condition is true. If the condition is false, the if block will be skipped and the execution continues with the rest of the program. The syntax is if conditional expression. In the bracket we will mention conditional expression. Afterwards we will have the statements or the block of code which will be executed if the condition is true. If, for example, we can say the example program, we are comparing the value of A and B with the help of if statement. If A greater than B, the corresponding block is having only one statement, system.out.println. If A greater than B condition is true, the corresponding system.out.println statement will be executed. Otherwise, the block will be skipped. Next, it will goes for the next condition checking. If A less than B, A less than B is true, the corresponding statement, that is system.out.println statement, will be executed. Otherwise, the things will be skipped. If else statement. When compared to the if statement, if else statement will have two blocks, one for the true part, another one for the false part. If the condition is true, true block will be executed, that is set of statements belongs to the true part will be executed. Otherwise, if the condition is false, else block will be executed. The syntax is if conditional expression, then we have a set of statements, then after which we will have else, then we will have set of statements associated with the else block. In this example, we are having the example for the if else. If condition, then the code block for the if true part, then we will have else, following which we will have the code block for the else. So if the condition is true, the true block will be executed, that is system.out.println A greater than B will be printed. Or if the condition is false, that is if A greater than B condition is false, else block will be executed. Then we are having the switch case statement in Java. Switch case is otherwise called as multi-way branching statement, by which we can apply several choices and the associated operations. If any one choice is true, the corresponding operation will be executed. So the program logic, programming control will check for several choices and the associated conditions. Any one condition will be true and the associated operation will be executed. This is an example structure of the switch case statement. First we will have switch one expression, then we will have several choices will be placed with the help of case keyword, case label 1, case label 2. If the choices will be mentioned as label 1, label 2, up to n number of choices we can have, and we have to mention the associated operations in the associated blocks with the help of statements. Then finally we will have the default block. If none of the choices are true, default block will be executed. Then iteration or looping statements. We are having in Java support several looping statements like while loop, for loop, do while loop. The looping is used to execute set of coding or block of code repeatedly for a number of times until the condition is true. While statement is one of the main looping construct control statement which execute a block of code while a condition is true. The syntax is while. We will use the keyword while. Inside the bracket we will have to mention the condition. Following that we will have the set of statements. So until the condition is true, the following set of statements will be executed. When the condition becomes false, the loop will be terminated. Here is the example. Here we are having the program. We are having the loop with the condition while count lesser than or equal to 10. And we are printing. Also we are incrementing the count value. So each time the count value will be incremented, the loop will be executed until the value is equal to 10, after which when the count value becomes 11, the while loop will be terminated. Then do while loop. This is similar to while loop, but here the structure is different also. The execution flow is different. Initially we will have the do, after which we will have the body of the loop or set of statements of the loop. Then finally we will have the loop while and the loop condition. So initially for one time without checking the condition, the loop body gets executed. Then condition will be checked. Then if the condition is true, again the loop body will be executed again and again until the condition becomes false. The difference between the while loop and the do while loop is, since the while loop initially checks the condition, if the condition is false and the number of times the loop will be executed is 0. But in the do while loop, initially the loop body will be executed without checking the condition, so the minimum execution of the loop is 1. Here we are seeing the example for the while loop, do while loop. Initially we are having do code block, then we are having the while condition. Then the for loop. For loop is one of the very important looping construct which also can execute a set of instructions for specific number of times based upon the condition checking and the condition evaluation. For the for loop we will have the certain things. First of all, initialization of the variable, then the condition checking, then the variable manipulation or increment or decrement expression. After the for statement we will have the body of the loop or set of statements. Here is the example of the for loop. We are having for int count equal to 1. This is the initial value of the count. Count lesser than or equal to 10 is the condition. Then count plus plus. Each time we are varying the value of the variable, that is each time we are incrementing the value of the count. So initially count value will be 1, loop body will be executed. Then the count value will be 2, loop body will be executed. So the loop body, in the loop body we are having only one statement which will print the value of the count. So when the count value becomes 11, the loop execution will be terminated. Jumping statements. Jumping statements are used to transfer the flow of execution from one statement to another statement. Here we are having continue, break or the jumping statement. Continue statement stop the current iteration of the loop. So actually this break and continue statements will be used within the while loop, do while loop or for loop. So the continue statement will stop the current iteration of the loop. Then for the next value the loop will be resumed. For example, we are having the for loop. Inside that, for a particular condition we are applying the continue statement, that is if I mod 2 equal to 0, if this condition is true, continue statement will stop the current iteration, that is current iteration execution. Then again the loop will be again resumed for the next iteration value and the loop will be continued. Then the break statement. Break statement will also associated with the condition. This will terminate the entire execution of the loop. It is also used along with the for loop, while loop or do while loop for a condition. For example, in this statement, we are having the for loop, after which we are having the break associated with the condition if I equal to 11. When I value is 11, the entire execution of the for loop will be terminated and the execution control goes out of the loop. So the difference between continue and break is continue will stop the current iteration, but break will stop the entire execution of the loop. In the continue statement, the loop will be resumed for the next loop value, but in break will not, with the help of the break statement, the entire loop execution will be stopped. So in our control structures, we have to study about decision making statements like if, else if, switch case statements. Also we are having the looping statements like for loop, while loop and do while loop. Also we have the jumping statements like break and continue. Thank you.